Hello, and thanks for joining Seattle Real Produces a Show. I'm the host, Shay Robinson. I'm here in I'm Third Media Studios with Jay Coe and his team. For those of you who don't know, Jay and his team do an incredible job for agents when it comes to their branding, their consistent content, their photography. And so if you're an agent and you're looking to up your game, I would definitely check them out. They are a one-stop shop when it comes to all those things. This show is brought to you by one of our sponsors, Contour Fence. Fencing and is not super exciting to some people, but for me, I can attest to how good of a job they did. They did my house. They did our neighbor's house. They were extremely efficient. They cleaned up. They were great. And if you're ever looking to help out a client or yourself, make sure you check them out. And the last thing I want to touch on is we have an event coming up March 30th at FST Winery in Woodinville. We're going to be celebrating agents getting together. We're going to have a lot of fun. And if you're an agent and you want to meet some great people and celebrate agents that have featured, make sure you check it out. And without further ado, I am joined by Adam Cothes of EXP. Adam, thank you so much for joining.
Hello, how you doing, Shay?
Good, man. How are you?
Good, man. Just taking names today. Hard at work.
I love it. Well, let's jump right in. I always love to give a little bit about who you are and your story. And, your story is not one of, it wasn't this easy path that was just laid out before you. And I'd love to touch a little bit on that a little bit. So you can just give me a glimpse on how you got into sales and then how you found your way into real estate.
Yeah, I'll give you just a little bit about kind of where it started. I won't, spend too much time on it, but it is kind of interesting. So I grew up in Texas. My mom and my dad split up when I was one, and my mom raised me in Austin. My dad was in Dallas, and we were very poor. At a certain point, no car, no phone, and a black and white TV with those antennas that you had to kind of. I remember going to the store to get a candy bar with a food stamp, like a piece of paper food stamp, and wearing Goodwill clothes and thinking all my friends knew and they didn't, because I kind of hung out with kids that had some money. But I was a smart kid and ended up going into the military to get college money. And I was working on computers. I was in North Carolina. I was jumping out of perfectly good airplanes. I was a paratrooper. And never saw conflict, but I spent 3 years in the military. I had 28 jumps or something. Never broke a bone, which is great. I've had some friends who got banged up doing that stuff. And I thought I would be working on computers, but I did that stuff, and I got out and I was working. I jumped into business. Actually, I was an admin at 22 years old. I was an admin assistant, and I learned how to run offices, and I ran a little bookstore, and eventually got into sales at age 27. My first sales job, I sucked, man. I'm telling you, they sat me down and they said, son, if you don't get better, we're going to can you. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? They're like, we don't know. You're the only sales guy. I'm like, well, how am I supposed to get better? They go, I don't know, man. You better figure it out real quick. We love your enthusiasm, but you're scaring everybody. So I thought sales was talking fast and getting people to do stuff. So I was just real enthusiastic, and I was like, that actually just freaks everybody out. So what I did is I went and I had to figure it out, man. So I bought this book, Selling for Dummies. And I tell everybody on my team, every new agent has to read this book, and it's thick too. It's not little. This book saves my career, to be honest with you. It's a guy named Tom Hopkins, famous sales trainer. And I learned that sales is an art and a science, and you can learn it. Even if you're not wildly and charismatic, you can learn how to sell stuff. There literally, it's a process that anybody can learn. So I self-taught my way. I watched webinars. I read books. I ended up reading 3 to 4 books a month for years and years and years. Just so I became addicted to learning. And I went within 2 years, I ran the sales department, and I had 4 direct reports. My personal sales surpassed all 4 of them combined. So not only did I save my career, I became quite good at sales, like really good. And then at age 35, the company went out of business. I was looking for opportunities. I was going around job fairs in Seattle, and I got hired by a company called Market Leader, which is a real estate CRM company. And they were owned at the time by Trulia, which eventually got bought by Zillow. So I somehow found myself, after 7 years in sales, I found myself calling real estate agents. And these agents loved me because I had studied sales, and a lot of them were doing good, but a lot of them were not doing good. And I said, have you read this book? Have you done this? And I don't know how to sell houses at the time, but I'm like, I know how to sell stuff. And so lo and behold, these agents would buy all my leads, man. Because they're like, this guy's great. This guy knows stuff. He's going to help me. And, about a couple months into that job, I'm like, dude, I'm one of the best at this company, and I'm only making $100,000 a year. I'm about to get my real estate license. So I was broke, man. I was so broke. I was riding the bus, man. An hour and a half. I lived in Bonnie Lake and I worked in Bellevue. And so, man, I drive my car down to Sumner. I take the train to Renton, then Renton, I take the bus. So it was car to train to bus. And then I would walk the last leg every morning, hour and a half. And then at the end of the day, hour and a half, 3 hours a day, I would commute, and I had to be at work at 7 a.m. So I was up at 4, something like that. And then I would also get my real estate license on the bus. I was trying to stay awake, got my license, man. And then I sold 0 houses the first few months. And I was like, wait a minute. I thought I could sell stuff. I thought I was good at sales, right? And it wasn't working. I was trying landing pages and building websites. And, I told everyone I don't have a sphere. All my friends are broke. I don't have and of course, at the time, no one taught me to do open houses or cold call or any of that stuff. I was buying leads from Trulia, but it takes a while for that stuff to kick in. And my buddy sitting next to me, the sphere that I said I never had was right there in front of my eyes. He goes, hey, I want to buy a house in the Highlands. And I'm thinking, great, where are the Highlands? He's talking about the Renton Highlands. And at the time, I'm like, I don't know where the Renton Highlands are. I'm from Bonnie Lake. And he goes, but I got a problem. I go, what's the problem? He goes, I need to sell a house first. I'm like, what? This is a problem? So I end up getting my first listing and my first buyer from this guy sitting right next to me in the sphere that I said I didn't have. And then, I got licensed in September 2014, January 2015, both of those deals closed and I quit. I had $15,000 in commissions and I had $30,000 in credit card debt, and I quit. And I had a mortgage, and I'm single. I have no kids, but I'm the breadwinner, and, I had a mortgage, and I was like, dude, I got to make this work. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to make this work. And that year I sold 20 houses, got Rookie of the Year for Keller Williams Kirkland. And the next year I sold my house, moved to the East Side, and the rest is history.
Wow. So from jumping out of planes to, learning how to sell to realizing you're not good at sales and that you actually have a lot to learn, and then taking kind of that leap of faith into real estate. So, I love how transparent you are through the whole process. And I think a lot of times it's easy to take for granted how hard you might have worked to get there. And I'm not saying that's the case with you, but I'd love to know kind of what was going through your head when you really made that leap. You're like, all right, I'm going all into real estate and this is going to be my career path. Were there any moments in that first year where you're like, what am I doing? Why did I do this? Or do you think that you found such success after, in that first 12 months that it made it all worth it?
I was scared to death, to be honest with you. I had second thoughts and second guessing myself. I never once said, I got this. I know I'm going to be the best. I'm going to be so good. I never, even though I had been successful in 2 sales careers previously, and I had been at the top of my field in 2 sales careers previously, I never once took it for granted because, and I'm glad I didn't, because it's harder. Real estate is much, much harder than any other sales I've ever done. And I was nervous. Everyone told me I would do great, but I was just really nervous. And I think the thing that I had in my advantage is I didn't take it for granted, and I wasn't going to fail. There was no way I was going to fail. I didn't assume success, but I just assumed I will outwork this problem. And so I would say this, the number one skill that every person really in this world needs to master is learning. Whoever can learn the quickest and adapt to a changing world will have success. And so what I did is I assumed I knew absolutely nothing. I started reading books and watching webinars and reading Inman and just, going to sales trainings and, from all different brokerages. I just basically outlearned my competition. And, that first year, my success was mainly from paid online leads and some referrals. The second year, however, that first year I started taking basically cold calling. I started doing cold calling with Mojo, and I would cold call for 3 to 4 hours a week. And by the second year, I took 13 listings my second year from all of that hard work my first year. And imagine being a new agent taking 13 listings at a pretty good price point. All that was from cold call. But by the end of my second year and my third year, I realized I like open houses the best, honestly. And the great thing about real estate is everything works if you do. If you work, it works. But I think the biggest mistake that real estate agents make is that they jump too quickly from one thing to the other. Squirrel, video works, podcasting works, open houses, cold call, paid leads, farming. You and I have some mutual friends that do geographic farming at a high level, sending out mailers. It all works. But the thing that doesn't work is trying a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this. I think you can try a few things, but then you got to focus. You got to do the thing, and it's funny that most high producers get their business from referrals. I would say that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But for me, all my friends were pretty much poor except for like 2 people. So, that's where open houses and paid leads came in. My sphere now is huge. I get $25-30 million a year in sales from my sphere, from my referrals. But I built those referrals from scratch. So that's the other thing is if people come into real estate, they can create a sphere. All they got to do is go work 70 hours a week. It's easy.
So walk me through a little bit. You paid the paid leads and the cold calling and the open houses. Mindset obviously is a big part of it, but also finding something that you really like to do. Right. At what point did you decide, okay, like in year 2, I need to like hit the phones? And, we all know a lot of people, like they're not comfortable doing that. For you and your mindset, what made you realize like, hey, I really need to hit the phones and this is going to kind of propel me forward? Like, what did that look like for you?
Well, I'll tell you this, before I got into real estate, I spent 6 months reading books and watching webinars and studying because namely I was in the industry, but I also totally did not assume I would win. So I really wanted to understand what I was getting into. And every book I read said listings, get the listings, and the listings produce buyers. Listings have babies, right? And so I was like, I'm going to get listings. And my friends, I had a couple of friends who had been real estate agents and they had, they were telling me, oh, you're not going to get listings. You're new, man. Go after the buyers, man. Pay your dues. And by the way, there's some truth to that, but I didn't believe it. And I said, I want listings. I'm a new agent. I want listings. And so I have a lot of experience with cold calling in the past, and I'm quite good at it. And so I took this class with Keller Williams. I'm with EXP Realty now. I have nothing but love for Keller Williams. But at the time I was with Keller Williams, and they have a class called Bold. And Bold made me start. They said, you have to talk to 20 people a day. And I'm like, a day? You mean call 20 people? No. Talk to 20 people a day. I'm like, how are you going to talk to 20 people a day? So I saw people doing all kind of crazy stuff, going to the mall, handing out, like, nobody's going to buy a house from you at the mall, calling their Facebook peoples. And I was like, listen, I'm going to do what I know. I know cold calling. So I got this thing called Mojo Dialer where you can call 100 people an hour. And there's literally unlimited amounts of leads. I can draw a circle on the map and just call a whole neighborhood. And to this day, my team still does that. Every day, 5 days a week, we're calling neighborhoods. That's what I knew. And so I did it. I did it all, for 3-4 hours a week. I couldn't do it for 5 days a week because I had other stuff going on. But, 3-4 days a week, I would call for an hour or two, and I got my 20 contacts. And lo and behold, Shay, when you talk to 20 people a day, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, the numbers are going to play out for themselves, right?
Right? 20 people a day. That's a lot of people to talk to. Now, a lot of them would hang up on me and, tell me to kick rocks. But inevitably, what I did that first year is I built up a huge pipeline of people that were retiring, or, hey, call me back in the spring, I'm going to sell. And, the paid leads paid my bills at the now. The cold calls built my future for the next year.
I love it. So, one thing that's really huge that I've learned from you, and for those who aren't aware, we did a mastermind, which we'll kind of dive into in a little bit. But one thing that was brought up in that mastermind was the way you run your systems. And for people that are, watching this or going to view this later, and just the reactions that we got from some of the agents who are all, everybody in that room did over 30 million in volume last year. And there were still some people that were just, their mind was blown by the value that they got, especially I think when it came to the systems part. So I know that we could do a really deep dive here, but I just want to touch a little bit on one, how do you kind of manage to do so many things, how you utilize, VAs and ISAs and assistants, and just kind of take me from when did you realize that you needed an assistant, that you needed VAs, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Well, yeah, I'll just tell you this. From day one, I had a vision. Before I ever got my license, I wanted to have a team, and I had read various books on the subject. And, the only reason I wanted a team was because I wanted to build a business and have, consistent income. And so I had that in my head. I never said, I know I'm going to do this. I just said, this is where I'd like to be, 5-10 years from now. And so from day one, I had an assistant, and it was way too soon, to be honest with you. I had read, Gary Keller's book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And in that book, Gary lines out how to build a business as a real estate agent, and there's 7 levels to your business. And, first level is agent. And what you're supposed to do is get as busy as you can until you're going to lose your mind. And then you need to hire an assistant. Now, in my opinion, it should be modified to maybe a transaction coordinator. That's where you only have to pay per file, and it's a lot, less risk. But the reality is that was in my head, that this is a proven model, and I'm all about models. I'm all about, like, I don't have to be the smartest guy in the room. Let's just tell me who has gone before me. How do I stand on the shoulder of giants? And so the most obvious thing for any agent to get their life back is an assistant. And so I actually wasn't going to do it that fast, but a friend of mine got laid off, and he called me and he says, "Hey, I like you. I know you're smart. Can I be your assistant?" I'm like, okay. In hindsight, it was a little bit fast, kind of ate through my cash reserves. I probably could have waited a little longer. But I had an assistant from day one. And then the assistant over time took on different roles, and I've run through a bunch of different assistants. Finally, I have a pretty good crew now. And basically the path to freedom as a real estate agent is, and you can stop anywhere you want, but the path to freedom is, agent plus assistant plus a second assistant plus maybe a buyer's agent plus maybe a second buyer's agent. But most people just go agent plus a bunch of buyer's agents, and then the agent becomes the admin. And I personally believe that that's a mistake. The other thing that was frustrating for me about growing a team was every time I grew a team, my income went backwards, just because I had to train people, and I'm good at sales. So over time, I've had to just figure out, how do I have these systems to where I can still have money, and these people are making me money. They're not taking away money. And that's where these systems, have been birthed, really. How do I hold people accountable without it killing me? And so we have onboarding processes and training processes that are somewhat self-guided and still have me involved. We have certain expectations that are set up front that everyone understands. Namely, for me, it's open houses. I've landed on open houses. We still do the cold calls. We still do paid leads. But at the end of the day, when I when it was just me and I had to decide, what do I like? What do I like and what's the most effective? It's open houses. That's just my thing. It's not wrong or right, but for me, I can pick an open house. It's the neighborhood I want. It's the price I want, and I can get buyers and sellers, and I can literally build my network of past clients in the area and geography I want. So now my team does the same thing, and so our systems are pretty simple. We've got, they're going to do X number of open houses. They're going to read Selling for Dummies. I'm just literally putting them through the path I went through. They're going to write sample offers every week. They're going to check in with me daily, and we're going to get together probably twice a week for live training. That's the basic. And then I have my team cold calling. I have employees that cold call. I don't make the agents cold call because I don't believe it's a skill that everybody has, and I believe it's a little bit challenging to learn. So we have our employees doing that. And now actually the crazy thing is my team, I've embraced a salary model. So we have a salaried based team plus bonuses. So my agents can make quite a bit of money. They can make a very, very, very strong 6-figure income. But it's just a little different way to do things. And I personally love it because I have the money to reinvest in my team.
So a lot of parts I love. The one thing I'd love to kind of touch on is, for people that are successful or people that are successful and incredibly busy, typically those usually go hand in hand. And when you think about, I need to hire an assistant, that onboarding process, I think, is key because you're spending time away from, other tasks that you could be doing, knowing that you're really investing in your business. And then what you don't want to have happen is invest all that time, and then that person in 3 months is like, I'm going to go be, my own agent now, or I'm going to go do something else. So one, I want to know, did you have kind of a learning curve, and how did you end up adapting your onboarding process to what it is today?
Oh yeah. So I went from sucking to being pretty good. So I've hired about 9 admins now in 7 years. I'm an expert, dude. Now I help my friends hire admins. You need an admin? If you're one of my friends, I'll show you how to do it, man. I got it down. I think that's what people don't understand. They look at, I'm a 23-year overnight success. That's the thing that people don't understand is it's you pay, it's paying your dues. So regarding the admins, some of the lessons, I'll just give you the short version. Some of the lessons I personally learned, and this isn't wrong or right. This is just my preference. There's 3 ways you can hire. You can hire unproven talent. Like I hired the barista. The lady who she was a manager for the coffee shop. She was a barista. And I actually kind of like her. I really loved working with her. She ended up just not wanting to work from home because of COVID and all that stuff. And she wanted to go back being in a more but she was fantastic. So that was the unproven talent. She was difficult to train because she didn't even understand what escrow was. Then you have the emerging talent. This is your front desk girl at the brokerage who's real nice to everybody and kind of knows what an escrow is, but has never sold a house in her life. And, so, hey, come be my admin. Okay. Well, she's a little easier to train. Then you've got your proven talent. Your proven talent has been someone else's admin. They've run, an admin situation for a team. Like these are proven talent. And by the way, the pay changes for unproven, emerging, and proven talent. So for me, what I've decided is I want licensed, proven talent I'm not the first rodeo. And they've tried to sell houses and they don't like it. So I don't have to lose them later to selling houses. So this is my criteria for admin. And when you get that crystal clear on your criteria, by the way, I also want trajectory. I don't want to see someone who is up and down. Their income was up, down. I want to see someone who's been a steady, their income has been generally moving in the right direction. Their life is stable. They don't have drama in their life. They're financially stable. And I want to call and check references. I want to run them through personality profiles like the DISC, which is not the end of the world. It's just part of the process. But so that's where my brain, I finally learned the formula for what I'm looking for. Now, when I plug that model in for one of my friends, it's a win. It's a win. And the other thing I want to talk to an admin about is motivation. like, where do they want to be in 3 to 5 years, and can I help get them there? So it's goals and motivation plus trajectory plus the disc plus, do you have a proven track record? Do you know what an escrow is? Can you do a transaction coordination for me like today, day one? And you're right, the thing that you said about having to spend the time to train people, even the proven talent, you have to train them. If you don't, and the biggest mistake agents make is they hire someone and they throw them into the role, it doesn't work, and everybody hates each other. If you don't take 2 steps back so you can take 4 steps forward, it's never going to work. And for those of us who get so busy, they wait too long. One of the biggest lessons I learned from one of my mentors is hire when you're at 80% capacity. Do not wait until you're overwhelmed, because now you're at 100% capacity and you get to train somebody. How's that going to work? So, and that's the secret. And as you grow a team, you continue to hire at 80% capacity. And that's where life stays good for everybody. And all your people keep a nice job balance and they don't hate you and quit.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that last part is so important, because when the expectations are not set clearly, you're going to end up somebody's going to get resentful, and the other person's going to feel that, or both are resentful, and then it's just not a productive work environment. So I think the 80% capacity thing is really smart. The last thing I want to really touch on here is just a little bit of peek behind the curtain is, where are you finding your VAs? Where are you finding these different types of assistants? Is it you just being personable and you just are being outgoing and asking the barista, or are you like intentionally seeking these people out?
Oh, dude, everywhere and anywhere. So talent is everywhere. So right now my team consists of 2 full-time licensed agents in Washington who do paperwork for me. They don't sell houses. And then 5 virtual assistants overseas, and then 3 agents besides myself. So I have 10 employees right now. And how did I find them? Well, I would say the 2 licensed admins in Washington, I found them through job postings primarily. I use a service called Wise Hire, and fantastic company. They post on Indeed and other job boards, but they also run them through a personality test. They can also run them through basic skills tests. And I love it because you can quickly sort through all the candidates. And then if there's a lot of candidates, I'll drive them over to another service called Spark Hire, which is a video interviewing service that kind of screens people and lets them answer like pre-recorded questions. And then I'll jump on Zoom and interview them and kind of take them through a further process. But when it comes to VAs, by the way, before I keep going, I would say another great way to find talent is your allied resources. So real producers, your title and escrow, your home inspectors, like these people have their fingers in the community. And, these allied resources can also be a fantastic way to find, job fairs as well. But posting on your social media, there's a lot of ways to find people. The coffee shop, I found the barista one time, but job postings, I think, would be my number one. The VAs are a little different, not a lot different. So I was very intimidated by VAs, to be honest with you. I heard a couple of my friends they swear by it, man. Oh, they're great. They're loyal. They're inexpensive. And they're great. And so I was just very intimidated. But I had a job posting that a guy in Kenya applied to. And I'm like, dude, I love you, but I'm not paying you $60,000 a year. And he and I stayed in touch, and I said, hey, can you do these odd jobs for me? And he goes, yeah, sure, man. And I'd pay him $50 or $100. And this guy is really smart, big thinker. Eventually he said, you know what? I'm going to open up my own firm training VAs in Kenya. Adam, and he charges the Kenyans. He doesn't charge the Americans. I'm like, oh, that's different. And this guy's turning into a little tycoon in Kenya. And he's a friend of mine. He's great. And he goes, Adam, you're my mentor. I'm like, I don't know about that. But, he goes, will you take my best student? I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, he's my best student. Will you take him and then give me a plug? When I go, I guess so. So I hired this guy. He's 23 years old, got a computer science degree, smart, loyal. Now he's in charge of a lot of my VAs, but I just kind of did it through a relationship. This guy brought his cousin. Now I've got two. Then I said, then my assistant, who is in Washington State, is originally from India. She brought her cousin recently. She's smart as a whip, man. Then I said, I need someone to make phone calls. Like, I'm good on the phone, but Adam cannot be everywhere. So I said, you know what? I like the Kenyans, but the accent is sometimes a little less understandable. They're doing more admin work for me. I said, let me go to the Philippines. So I said, well, how do I do this? I just Googled it, man. I just Googled it and I started looking around and I found this job board, and I'll let me find it real quick. And it's a job board run by an American guy who actually already had the same problem. And he had a pain point and he solved it with this business. So let me find it for you guys. Hire. Here we go. And basically, yeah, it's called onlinejobs.ph. Right, onlinejobs.ph. And I made some mistakes there too, and I eventually figured it out. And I just kind of follow my same system. I start the job in WiseHire because I want to run them through the skills tests and the disc test, and I post the job on onlinejobs.ph. They all apply. By the way, you're going to get like 200 applicants. These people are very eager. And I usually pay above average wages. Like if you were in the Philippines, you know, it's like making 150 grand a year with me. I mean, it's, you know, but by my standards, I'm getting a great deal, you know, $6 an hour or whatever, but it's a great deal for both parties, you know. So I've elevated these people's lifestyles. They're building. I have two employees right now building a house. Both of them are building houses for their family, like thanking me. There was a hurricane. They got wiped out. I sent them $1,000, which is like a month's worth of money, and I fixed it. I just wrote a check and fixed it. Their computers crashed. I bought them both new computers. Like, I am changing lives with these VAs. So for me, it's a competitive advantage. You know, most of my, you know, I only sold about 50 million last year. I mean, I'm not the biggest agent in town. I will probably be close to 200 million in the next 2 years, but like, you can't compete with me if you're hiring Americans. Like the amount of staff I have right now would cost me 700 grand a year. It's not possible to compete with me. Or I can have two Americans, and they believe me, they're not cheap. They cost me a lot. And then I can have 5 VAs that cost me, I don't know, maybe 6 grand a month or something. I mean, it's a great deal. So in my opinion, it's the only way to compete in our modern global world, where the consumer wants it now. The consumer wants, you know, a lower price. We're having a lot of pricing pressure in our area. And the agents, I bring on agents, they need help. They need services, you know, so we have help and we have services and we have support for the agent. How can I be all to all people without VAs? I don't know. To me, it's the only solution.
No, I love it. I think it's a testament to, you know, one is surrounding yourself with good people, and then the other part of it is being able to delegate, right? Letting go of tasks that, you know, you're the non-money producing tasks. If you can find somebody else to do those, then you're going to be a lot more efficient with your time. So, right. I appreciate you know, taking a little glimpse into that. You know, if somebody can take anything away from this, it's learning a little bit on how to find those people, you know, how to, you know, kind of dissect that process and, you know, and kind of wade through it a little bit so that you are getting to really good people as quick as possible, right?
Yeah, let me just add one last thing. One of the things that I learned was how to teach people to self-manage and set the expectations. I'm not the best manager, to be honest with you. But I have the systems that kind of help things. So I use another system called Slack. I'm sure everyone's heard of Slack. Slack is a free program that is almost like a message board meets email or something. So basically, all the people in my world get to do certain things, and they post it on Slack. So let me give an example. My admins every morning need to go to the legal hotline videos for Washington State, which are put out by the realtor's lawyer, and they talk about contracts. And so all my admins, even the ones overseas, are going and watching these videos, and then they post on Slack. They have to post a little report every morning. So I know that my whole team is getting better with contracts every day. So that's one system. The next one is if they read a book, they're going to post a chapter summary on Slack every time they read it. And the other thing is my admins post a morning update. Like here's what I'm going to accomplish today. Here's my 5 top, priorities. And at the end of the day, what did I accomplish? Here's what I accomplished. And I've set this in place so that I don't have to always ask them. I can check and see what they're doing. The other thing is I want these people to be thinking about their highest and best priority each and every day. I don't want them to be asking me what to do. I want these people to be self-starters who are thinking about what does the business need today. And so, and that's the same with my ISAs and my other VAs. So if nothing else, this Slack system where you set the expectation, here's your rhythm, here's what I expect from you. Now, you also have to meet with people every so often, but when you have this system in place, they tend to function generally on autopilot. And all you have to do is go in and kind of nudge them and kind of help them get back on track if they get off track.
I love it. The accountability piece is huge, right? And you're kind of doing that without having to, it's like accountability is set in place already. All right. So next thing I want to, kind of briefly touch on is you went from Keller Williams to EXP, and for a lot of agents out there, we know that, EXP might be looked at as a disruptor or they're not sure. And I think a big part of it, and we kind of found this out at the event, is really just kind of educating people. So one, I want to know why you ended up making that change. And then the follow-up to that would be, what do you think the biggest misconception out there about EXP is?
Oh, yeah, great question. So I'll tell you this. I heard about EXP 4 years ago, and I said no to it at that time. I wish I hadn't. So it took me 2 years. I hope you guys hear the theme. I'm not, always the instant success. But, I watched it for 2 years. My good friend, Dan Beer, who is in San Diego, he has 68 agents on his team, huge team, big producer, number one team in all of EXP for volume. I was coaching with this guy, and he said, Adam, I'm leaving Keller Williams. I said, why? He goes, EXP, man, it's the future of real estate. And at the time they had like 20,000 agents. And I was like, what? And, anytime someone leaves your brokerage, you kind of have these feelings of like betrayal or something, like, man, you left the family, I break your legs, but the reality was I was intrigued. Dan Beer, someone as smart as this guy, makes millions of dollars a year. Interesting. Like his team had 10 million in GCI last year. If he was in this 600 million in production, if he was in this area, you'd have him on your podcast. So it's like, okay, this guy is not dumb. He's not someone who jumped ship in a small way. In fact, he was going to buy a Keller Williams Market Center, and he goes, this is different. This is better. So, here's the deal. 2 years later, I still hadn't made a move. And my friend calls me and says, Adam, I need your opinion. I'm thinking about going to Compass. And I said, okay, let's talk. I respect Compass. Have you also looked at EXP? And remember, I was at Keller at the time. And I said, I just do your own research, look at Compass, look at EXP. Compass is great. Their marketing's great. They're also wildly expensive, so, you're buying the brand. And I said, EXP is great too. You ought to think about it. I don't know a lot about it, but I think it's, I see a lot of top people going over there. You ought to just do your homework. And now I felt kind of bad because I hadn't really looked into it myself. So I said, well, I better look into it for my friend. She went to Compass and I went to EXP. When I looked into it, I was like, holy cow. I mean, I don't want to like overstate it or seem like I'm hyping it up, but man, it's like the difference between a Tesla and a Maserati. I mean, they're both great, but God, the Maserati's never going to catch a Tesla. It's different technology. It's different systems. The way the money is paid is different. The way the collaboration is different. Everybody is much more open and sharing. Dude, I've got 140,000 in stock in 2 years. I'm making almost 6 figures. Well, I'm probably making 6 figures a year right now in passive income from sponsoring a few of my friends. I don't even make recruiting my full-time job. All I do is help people add value, give back, sell houses, mind my own business. And I'm making 6 figures in residual income. I mean, it's Keller Williams never gave me 130 grand in stock. I'd say nothing but respect for Keller. I'm not negative against the company, but come on, man. No, Keller Williams never gave me 10 grand a month in residual income. I mean, it's so vastly different. It's fantastic. I just love it.
I love it. So, and again, I think that just a little bit of education for some people, or, you know, a lot of people just hear something and then they don't take the time to do their due diligence, right? And they just form an opinion. And so it's why I want to touch on that. And then the last part you shared, which is really what I kind of want to go into next, is that collaboration piece. So, you know, you know, you and I have now, you know, we're going to do these masterminds every month, and you've been doing just collaboration in general, you know, for the past however many months. I want to know, did the switch to EXP kind of change something in you, where you realize that the value of collaborating with other agents and like-minded people, or have you just always been that way and now it's almost like exponential because you're at EXP?
I've always been this way. If you ask any of my friends, I was always teaching classes at Keller for free. I taught classes. I taught my open house class. I taught my buyer consultation class. I have a negotiations class I teach. I'm great at that. So I just love teaching. I love giving back. People would come and knock, knock, knock. Got a minute. I was probably in the top 5 of Keller Williams Kirkland. I'm in the top 3 for the whole state now with EXP, and I'm hoping to be number 1. We'll see. But I've always been a giver. I just feel like everybody complains that the industry doesn't help each other. When I was a new agent, I was trying to get some help one time to learn how to run comps. Like, how do I run comps? I just want to know how to run comps on this house. I asked this guy. Me and him were always the first one in, the last one out. And he wouldn't tell me. I'm like, dude, like, we've been standing here for 3 months together. You won't tell me this one thing. I never asked you for a thing in my life. You won't tell me this one thing. And so I just feel like in life, be the change you want to be. You know, everyone, you know, complains that Washington is grumpy and people don't say hi. Well, start saying hi to people. If you want Washington to be less grumpy, then say hi to people. So I just feel like be the change you want to be. And so I've always been, you know, people knock on my door, you know, I'll help them. Now, you start paying me to help them, all of a sudden, bro, you just lit a wildfire. I'm running classes and trainings across the state, and we're not, you know, so a lot of this training, we don't talk about EXP, you know, right? This is not the point of our masterminds. We're not talking about EXP. You can be any brokerage you want. I'm not going to recruit you at this event. This event is we're just going to help each other. But what I know is the people that get ahead in life are the ones that help the most people succeed. You know, you help other people succeed. And if they ever, by the way, the other thing I know is you're never going to force someone to switch brokerages. That's like saying I'm going to force someone to buy a house. Good luck. You know, the only thing you're going to do is be at the right time, at the right place when they need something. And that's my goal in life, is to help enough people to know that I'm a genuine, honest person. I'm going to help you. And when the time comes, I would really appreciate you remembering good old Adam.
Well, to be honest, you know, just the way that we kind of executed that mastermind, where we went in, you know, there's no agenda, there's no paid speaker, there's no, you know, hey, come to this and then we're going to sell you on this at the end, you know, like a timeshare, right? It was really strictly like agents from different brokerages, from different areas, from different walks of life. The only one underlying theme was that all of them are already doing really great business. And if you can take one thing away from that kind of mastermind, then we feel like we've brought you value. And I could just tell on people's faces that everybody walked out of there knowing that there was 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 things that they could implement, you know, over the next couple weeks or couple months, that's going to better their business, that's going to give them, you know, better work-life balance because they can delegate a little bit. So I really appreciate that. And it's really easy for you to just say it, but it's a lot different to actually do it, right? I think that's the difference of when you say that you're a helpful person, or that people can lean on you. Are you actually delivering on that, or is that just a lot of talk? And I you know, I've seen it firsthand, so I love it. So last thing I really want to touch on is, you know, this market, and, you know, everybody knows about the low inventory, and nobody has the crystal ball, but what are your kind of goals, and what do you see the market doing, you know, once the spring starts to hit?
Oh, I love this question. I get this question all the time. So best guess, and this is just my best guess. I think we're going to have a fantastic year in real estate. I think inventory is going to rise as mortgage rates rise. And we're going to have some people tap out because prices have priced them out. You're going to get a whole new batch of buyers who get into the market maybe April or May, and they don't know any better. Yeah. What's the interest rate? 4.5. Oh, really? Okay, cool. How much is this house in Kirkland that's like 500 feet? Oh, it's 2 million. Okay, cool. Let's go. Like that's what's going to happen. And I'm not saying it's a good thing, but that's what happened in 2017, 18. They raised rates to 5%. And we had a bunch of inventory that came on the market. And, it actually was a great opportunity. I'm going to turn this off and on real quick. There you go. Back in focus. So basically, I think that we're going to have a great opportunity, and it might wash a few people out. But I believe that this year is probably going to be my best. We are going to face some interest rate challenges, but I personally think it's well overdue. The only brake pedal that we have to this market right now is interest rates. That's it. That's the only thing that can slow this train down. And I feel like the train's coming off the tracks. So we need to slow the train down. And if that means a few people get priced out or they have to buy a townhome instead of a house, so be it.
Mm-hmm. So when you are looking at, whether it's your goals or this market or how you're evaluating, can you give me like a percentage breakdown of like the cold calling, the farming, the referral base, the sphere? Like, what do you open houses? Like, what do you focus on the most, like individually, and what do you have your team members do that you don't focus on as much?
Yeah, so we have one full-time employee cold calling all day, every day. We're also spending over 30 grand a month on paid leads that are getting chased by my employees. So I'm heavy on paid leads. It's a combination of Zillow, pay-per-click, and then a couple of services that are seller-based. The reason I went so heavy this year, well, even though they're not really producing right now, because you need houses to produce online leads. If you don't have houses, people don't inquire on the house. So I basically doubled down in the middle of no inventory, in the middle of very poor results, because what's going to happen when the inventory opens up, which is happening right now, every week we get double the homes. So when we get a whole bunch of inventory spike this summer, I'll have all the leads. So basically, I've been plowing my money into paid leads because I fully expect to have all the business this summer. So I'm always trying to think 3 steps ahead. Now, while we're doing that, my agents are doing a lot of open houses. My new agents do 16 open houses their first month. Now we trim that back to 10 and 8 and 4, but to get an open house right now, agents are having to text or call up to 50 other agents for opportunities. It's massive amounts of work to get open houses right now. So I would just say open houses, paid leads, and cold calls. And then we're about 50% referrals. We also, get a lot of agent to agent referrals. That's part of that 50%. So we are actively looking on our Facebook groups and commenting and posting whenever we see an agent to agent referral within our brokerage or outside of our brokerage. So agent to agent referrals are a huge part of what we do. And yeah, I would say it's now pretty diversified, with about half of it referrals and the other half prospecting based.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Man, it's all really great stuff. The thing I want to end with really is I love how transparent you are in this process. And I hope for anybody that was watching, or like I said, that's going to watch it later, that they can just take, 1 or 2 things and realize that even though they might be doing a lot of things great, that there's always room for improvement. There's always room to be efficient. And you have a lot of good information that you've implemented, and they can let you, the stumble and fall and get back up. You've taken the lumps for them, and now you're open to share that. So Adam, I really want to thank you for coming on and being so transparent and kind of walking us through the process. And it's been fun to watch you grow as an agent. And I know that there's great things to come, in 2022.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And it's been great collaborating with you as well. And I can't wait to continue doing our mastermind series. The one that is in April, it's an invite only event. But if there's people listening that are interested, we would be open to hearing from them. This one is all about teams. Again, this is non-brokerage specific. We are not even going to talk about any brokerage stuff. All this is about is team stuff. And it's April, is it 28th, I believe? 29th, okay. 29th. And it's in Bothell. It's a 4-hour event, and it's gonna be rich, man. We're gonna talk about onboarding, we're gonna talk about recruiting new agents to our teams. We're gonna talk about showing agents, we're gonna talk about admins, we're gonna talk about virtual assistants, technologies, CRMs, paid leads. How do we hold people accountable? Like all of the team specific questions that are out there, and it's not from a presenter, it's not just from Adam or from Shay, right? This is going to be the room. All of the best teams in the area are going to come together, and we're going to share what's working and what's not working.
Yeah, honestly, I love it. Even myself not being an agent, I took away huge value at that, so I can only imagine what it was like for the agents. And I'm excited to be part of this and keep collaborating with you. In closing, I just want to thank Jay Coe with I'm Third Media. He helped produce this. Again, he does an incredible job for agents and their content and their branding and their real estate photography and videos. And I'm very thankful for his partnership. And I want to thank anybody that was out there watching, and hope everyone stays safe and have a great day out there.